An absolutely massive week for the Montreal Canadiens. And today we talk about it because guess what? Dominique Ducharme, no longer the coach, and we hire Martin St. Louis out of goddamn left field. So we're going to talk about it. We are the No Respect Podcast. Join alongside me, Justin and Alex, and myself, Mackie. We make the No Respect Podcast. Did I say that? It doesn't matter. Let's get into it. Dominique Ducharme fired. Let's start with an instant analysis of this. Obviously, the Montreal Canadiens record that you see at the top right of this screen, it's a real one, and it's garbage. 8-31-7. There was no spark in this team. And I want to start from here because obviously Dominique Ducharme was the coach that led us to what was the highest peak as a Montreal Canadiens in recent history, which is the Stanley Cup Finals, right? But things this year, and even last year, some red flags, some would say, but that's the point of the discussion here, is that what do you guys think about Dominique Ducharme? Let's start there. Justin, let's get your take on his tenure, and do you think this was the right move?
I mean, first of all, I think it's the right move. Like, he just hasn't had success with this version of the Habs in the regular season. Even last year, it didn't really work out throughout the full season. So, I mean, yeah, I think he's a great coach. Like, he's won at pretty much every level he's been at. He got a World Junior Gold. He got Memorial Cup. And another thing that I'm forgetting right now. But I think he's a good coach. But I think he was dealt a bad hand the last couple of years, first of all. And second of all, he just couldn't turn it around this season, which is something you have to do when a team starts off so badly as they did this year. Not to say that the players aren't to be blamed as well, but there had to be a change, in my opinion.
Do you put more on Dominique Ducharme than the players, Alex, on your side when you look at this tenure and what's gone on?
I think it'd be a pretty even split. Maybe slightly leaning towards more on the players. It's been rough this year, and at some point, some of the players, some of the leaders have to take it upon themselves to do something to motivate the rest of the guys. I know a lot of our leaders are out or just didn't come back to start the season, but at some point, the coach can only do so much. I think hockey's a game that, as much as the coaching, the planning and stuff is important, the players have a lot more responsibility. It's such a fast-paced game with a lot of weird bounces and stuff that I think the players have to take it upon themselves and change the course of the season. Obviously, Ducharme, we would say, would have to be a better motivator. Obviously, he probably lost the dressing room, but I think the players do have a big part to play in how badly this season has gone. It's a shame to see him go. I'm happy with the new hire, but I feel like it's sad for Dominique Ducharme, like you mentioned, going to the Stanley Cup Finals to then have it end this way. Hopefully he gets another shot somewhere else sometime soon. But yeah, I think at this point something had to change. The fans are out of it. The players were clearly not playing anymore, so we had to do something. But overall, I'd say it's a pretty even split between Ducharme and the players, responsibility-wise.
Yeah, and Claude Julien, who's at the Olympics right now with Eric Stahl, and I think David Desharnais is part of that squad, if I'm not wrong. And he weighed in on what happened with Dominique Ducharme and also recovering from a what is it, ski injury? What was it?
Tobogganing accident.
Sledding. Tobogganing.
All the best to Claude Julien. But yeah, he weighed in today in Beijing, speaking about the cellular service not being great, but also talking about Dominique Ducharme not necessarily being given that hand, like you said, all of the bad luck that could happen this year. And I can't disagree. The one thing that I will say about Dominique Ducharme, last year, and Brendan Gallagher spoke about this, is that he was able to he called it a script that everybody bought into, and he felt, at least Brendan Gallagher felt the need to say that it was obviously welcomed everything that he put into this team, and there was obviously some value, and that's where I think it's going to have a bad rap on Dominique Ducharme's record this year with the Habs. But I still think this needed to happen at the end of the day, because when you look at the record, and not only the record, it's one thing to be losing and you don't have the players performing well, but the way they are starting to perform and how that can impact the culture of this team with a bunch of young players that are lacking a leader. And that's the one thing that I feel we're getting with the new hire. And let's get into that. Martin St. Louis, our guy, not the best picture because this is when he dominated us in that conference final. Or was it? Yeah, it was the conference final, that goal against Dustin Tokarski. That was nasty. Short side, I still remember it. But Martin St. Louis now, not as a player, unfortunately, part of the Habs organization, Hall of Famer, but no prior experience. So let's start there, okay? Because there are skeptics in the Habs community and obviously outside of the Habs community when it comes to this hire. What do you think about Martin St. Louis coming in as the Habs coach with no experience apart from Pee Wee coaching his sons? In this context, that's absolutely abysmal. Starting with you, Alex.
I think it's exciting. It's nice to have something positive to talk about and something to speculate about. I can't speak for his coaching ability, but in every other facet, Martin St. Louis is a guy that people will want to play for and that commands respect from hockey players. If this guy walks into a room, there's no player who has more awards, more success than this guy. And if you have trouble in the locker room, this guy's going to shut it down quickly. Obviously, guys like Cole Caulfield said he looked up to him when he was young. It'll be a great example for him. And then if you have veterans with the rumors like Petrie or, for example, have given up on the coach, this guy's going to shut that down. Petrie will not be able to guide the rest of the room to turn against a guy like St. Louis. He just commands respect, and he'll get that. When it comes to his coaching ability, he said it himself in his press conference. Doesn't really matter what level you're coaching at, you're still coaching hockey. Obviously, the systems and concepts are higher level, and we'll get into systems and concepts later. But yeah, I think we give him a shot. I don't see why he can't be successful. Everyone says he's a great hockey mind and obviously an excellent player, and I think he'll do well.
Justin, does this pose more of a problem for you, or you agree with Alex that that doesn't matter?
I mean, I was skeptical at first, but after hearing his press conference and how confident he was, and it seems like he had an answer for everything. He has a plan of action. Like he knows what he wants to do to get the most out of the players. I feel a lot more confident in this hiring, because at first it was just like a name out there because you don't know the person. You just see like Martin St. Louis, like he was an amazing player. He wrecked the Habs like a million times. It was painful to watch him beat us so much. But him and Vinny, actually, we might get into that later. But
yeah, we might.
But yeah, I mean, it's just a name at first, but then you kind of see the press conference and see, yeah, just how much confidence he has, and it just feels like he can get the best out of the players. Like it seems like he's a player's coach and someone that'll like be able to encourage the younger players. Kind of, we saw a little glimpse of it in the game last night with Cole Caulfield. He kind of talked to him, and he just happened to score like a few minutes later. So yeah, I'm excited, but cautiously.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys spoke about the press conference. A couple of comments here from Twitter people that are recognized. You got Eric Angles that says, "I can't imagine any Canadiens fan watching this press conference right now is feeling anything but encouraged by what Martin St. Louis is saying." Up next, Pierre Lebrun. He says, "Man, the confidence just oozing from Martin St. Louis and at his news conference. He's clearly not intimidated by this opportunity. Steep learning curve ahead, to be sure, but he's had people doubt him his whole life." And honestly, like the press conference for me, you guys spoke about it. It shut down a lot of like concerns from a paper standpoint, because I can understand, like from the get-go, you're just like, okay, Martin St. Louis is a guy from here. He's going to speak French, so he's hitting those boxes, but he has no coaching experience apart from, like we said, his Pee Wee sons, which is not the NHL, and there's no other step, so he's just stepping in. What I will say is in the press conference and the way that he spoke, And the fact that, like you guys said, compared to a Dominique Ducharme, this guy, no matter if he has coaching experience or not, is the epitome of what adversity is, what leadership is, and has been through almost every single goddamn situation. Like, he's been doubted, he's been undrafted, he's made his way from the fourth line to the first line to the All-Stars to the NHL Stanley Cup, winning the cup, the Olympics. Like, you're talking about a guy that has been in every situation. So for me, the coaching and systems, makalis, to be honest, like it's right now what this team needs is a leader, somebody that people can look to and respect no matter the day. And unfortunately, and this is not disrespectful to Dominique Ducharme, but he does not carry that same presence. No matter what coaching experience he has, it's thanks St. Louis you're talking about. So from that regard, I think that this is a group that, again, the fact that he's interim too helps this situation, meaning that they're not locked into 5 years with Martin St. Louis that has no coaching experience. I think he won't be interim for long. I think he's going to seize this opportunity. But all of that to say that this is a good plan for the immediate situation of the Montreal Canadiens, unless you guys have any counterpoints here that you wanted to suggest that I might be missing.
Well, just to add on to that, like, I think this now is the time to kind of experiment with a new kind of new age coach, we'll say, like someone with a fresh set of eyes, because obviously the Habs aren't going to be cup contenders anytime soon. So like now is the time to kind of go through the growing pains of having a new coach and having a new voice in the room. And yeah, I think it's a great move. No counterpoints against you, Mackie.
Appreciate that. I do want to say that there's some people that still don't believe that. I was listening to TSN, I think it was with 1050. I don't know what it is. But they saying that, like, I think it was Noodles from the O Drive there, obviously Toronto based take here, saying that, like, again, I think it's from a paper standpoint, there's validity to the fact that he has no coaching experience. And I do think that it's not something that's going to stop Martin St. Louis in this situation. But we also have the Habs GM, obviously a new age GM as well in this whole situation. Kent Hughes on Martin St. Louis. A lot of people have bet against him, but I, for one, have chosen to bet on him, not against him. And I'm sure he'll make the doubters revisit it in time. And I tend to agree. Obviously, time will tell, but we shall see. Okay, I think the last point that I wanted to make here that comes from the press conference as well, systems over concepts. And this has been a little bit of a theme that's going on in the Habs community. But what do you take from a guy like Martin St. Louis talking about the difference between boxing yourself into a system and a concept that is much more open and allowing you to make reads? That was the big point of emphasis in all of this. So let's start with you, Alex. Do you like what you hear from Martin St. Louis on this specific topic?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I don't know what's going on with my throat today, but I think it's really important. Montreal has been a team for so long that has struggled to develop offensive players. And it seems like we're always one of the teams that never has that 80, 90 point guy. Now, we have a few guys who have that potential in Suzuki and Caulfield, who we've seen have mixed levels of success. And I think you bring in a guy like St. Louis who lets them make mistakes, let them develop this offensive ability they do have, and you could free those guys and turn them into these all-stars that people want them to be. Unfortunately, for this team to have success in the past, to win games, we've had to play that defensive system, rely on Carey Price, and win low-scoring games. But now, like you guys mentioned, this is an opportunity for the team. Obviously, we're going to draft high. So this is the time to try to implement something new. And if you let these guys build that creativity, make those reads that they're capable of making while not punishing the mistakes, it's the time to do it, and it could lead to big success in the future.
Yeah, Nick Suzuki talked about that today, being one of his strong suits, and he's happy to hear that guy like Martin Saint Louis now being the Habs head coach saying that because that's his strength. And maybe I'm reading too much into it, but it seems like I heard Dominique Ducharme say that at the beginning of his tenure as well. I remember it being a quote that he had said, you want some kind of high level concepts, but it seemed to be as times got more difficult that was let go. So, Justin, what do you think about this whole concepts over systems?
Yeah, I was actually going to allude to the same thing as you, that Dominic, like, it sounds to me as like a very similar thing that Dominic Ducharme kind of preached at the beginning when he was first announced as a head coach, that he kind of let the players be a bit creative in like a kind of bigger system. But I like it. I mean, I like the sound of it. We'll see what it translates to on the ice. One thing I think it's kind of like it's as a player, you like to hear this because obviously as a player you want to have the freedom of doing kind of what you want, what you learned to do growing up as a hockey player. So I think it might make players like him and want to come play for him if it works out and if everything goes well. But yeah, I can't say too much as to how it's going to translate on the ice because we have to see what's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the only weakness that I truly see is maybe Martin Saint Louis like potentially trying to reach for cookies on the top shelf. And I say that as a 5'9" Italian fatso. So I think that's the only weakness that I see right now. And apart from the experience that's missing from system standpoint. But the other thing that they alluded to is the fact that he's going to have support. There's Luke Richardson that's there. There's Alex Burrows, who's also a relatively new coach that hasn't necessarily proved that much to the power play. At least we thought he would. I want to come back to this is the slide that's like a few ones after, but it just for like segue purposes. John Tortorella talking about the lack of experience not being an issue for Martin Saint Louis because he was part of the Columbus team as like an advisor for the coaching staff. And, he preached, I'm paraphrasing here, you guys should listen to this interview, where, Tortorella is talking about Martin studies the game. And actually, as a coach, he was pretty annoying because he would always question why you're doing things and always demanding why and what's the best for our team, what's the best way to win. And for me, that's going to be a big difference in terms of what I saw from Dominique Ducharme in a place of difficulty, which is still the case for the Montreal Canadiens. But I don't think he was demanding enough from his group. I think that there was lacking that like killer instinct. And I think Martin Saint Louis, at least from the press conference, man, I had goosebumps. I don't know about you guys. Your thoughts on this, Alex?
Yeah, I think, like you said, it was a great press conference from Tortorella, or I guess just interview from Tortorella. So go listen to that if you have the chance. But the only thing I'd say is at the end of the day, no coach has NHL experience until they're hired as an NHL coach. Some people may say they have to do their time in the ECHL, AHL, but nothing is at the same level as the NHL. And you won't get that experience until you have the opportunity. And like everyone has said over and over again, Martin Saint Louis has proved everyone wrong at every level. And there's no reason to believe he won't do the same right now.
Justin?
I mean, I'll argue even that coaches that never played in the NHL have, in a way, less experience than Martin Saint Louis has, because he played close to 20 years in the NHL. He made it to countless playoff series, countless wins in international tournaments in the NHL and everywhere. So, I mean, he has the experience as a kind of viewer and as a participant, as a player. And it's just about being able to translate that and being able to coach that into the other players. So, yeah, I mean, there's obviously going to be some growing pains, but I believe in him. And I think he has kind of, I mean, he's like you said, he has the kind of Luke Richardsons and whatever, Alex Burrows, maybe other people that he would eventually hire as assistant coaches to support him as well. So, I mean, I'm not worried, and I don't think anybody should be, because the Habs are not going anywhere soon anytime soon. So.
True. All right. The last thing that I think we should leave you on, and it's the slide right before, Justin, is a report from Frank Saravelli, because as we all know, Martin St. Louis, a guy from here, played at the Tampa Bay Lightning organization. And I think his centerman was named Vincent Lecavalier, which we've seen on the golf course a few times. Big shout out to Vinny, who's got a hell of a swing. But there's a potential role here for Vinny Lecavalier, apparently. And this is a report, it's speculation, but it's the one I think that we should leave on. Martin St. Louis, Vinny Lecavalier, a new era, Kent Hughes, Jeff Gordon. I mean, listen, the record that we're seeing right now, 831-7, you got to get excited about something, and I think this is what we want to get excited about. Maybe a quick thought on Vinny Lecavalier is potentially joining this group as assistant general manager. What is the role? We don't know, but Frank might follow up on this tweet. Let's start with you, Alex.
Yeah, I think like you said, it's just exciting. This year has sucked. It's nice to get some change, some new faces, some hope for the future. And Vinny Lecavalier, Martin St. Louis, these are guys that we grew up watching who were the all-stars of the league. It's cool that they're local guys. So, yeah, I don't know what role he would get, but I know he would do a great job. And this team is going to have tons of success in the future, led by these two guys.
Like it. Justin.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I don't think Lecavalier has much experience, much like St. Louis, but I mean, I'm all for kind of trying out these new, fresh faces in management and in coaching positions, just because it's been successful in other places in the league. So I mean, this is the time to kind of try things out, and I think I love Vinny. Bring him over. Oh, Bizarre boy.
Right? Yeah, let's go. Yeah, and I guess the last comparable here, in terms of like no experience, there's one person that you can name. Obviously, everybody has used this, but Rod Brendamore, player coach in Carolina, did a great job. Assistant GM Vinny Lecavalier, we shall see. But on that note, Marty St. Louis, new Habs head coach, Dominique Ducharme fired. It's a bit longer than we thought it would go, but we talked about a lot of different things. Are you guys excited? As my video freezes here at the end of this segment. No Respect Podcast, Alex, Justin, Mackie. We'll be back with another segment at some point, and we'll see you relatively soon. Go Habs, go. All right?